seeing what kind of effect it has. We're not sure whether we're going to implement it in our 3.2 instance or not. We're 3.2 is our last version hosted here. If we stay with Moodle as a platform, then we will be with Moodle Rooms, and they are pretty close to implementing it. So I just wanted to check if anybody had tried this out yet, or maybe another question is what's the demand for it from your user base? Have you heard anything?
Mark, when you said separate infrastructure, what infrastructure does it need? Is it for indexing or is it for something else?
Yeah, it has a Solr server that is separate from Moodle.
Does it have to be Solr, or is it suggested?
Well, I don't know the answer, but I know that's what the documentation says, and that's what we set up. Moodle Rooms is going to be doing something other than Solr, but they're infrastructure specialists. So,
is there any sense of how much adoption it's seen from any plugin developers thus far? I'm seeing on the page it says people who are interested in adding plugin contents would be interested, because I just noticed so many of our users use plugins as well as uploaded files and LTIs and so forth, that the incompleteness of the search for them may make it not as exciting to our user base, given what I hear about what people are actually, when they try to search for stuff, what they try to search for. Sure.
But until you introduce a search function, you can't get the plugins to be compatible with that. So,
yeah, so it's a chicken and egg thing, but it's good to see it's moving forward at least.
Yeah. Well, we have professional schools, and so that's been a pretty popular inquiry from them, and so it'll be interesting to see what, I think Moodle has it in most of their instances. I don't know about all of them, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this progresses. So maybe this conversation will be ongoing with this group. My next thing is, so 3.1 introduced competency-based education with competency frameworks and competencies and learning plans. Has anybody implemented that yet? So we, in a limited fashion, we used outcomes. We had, for our Twin Cities campus, we have student learning outcomes that are attached to courses, and we set them up at the site level. Prior to 3.1, there was no depth to outcomes. You could attach an outcome to an activity, or you could have it be at the course level, but there was no hierarchy or nesting. Obviously, the new competency framework is much more robust, but I'm not sure how they work together yet, or if there's any conversion, or I'm just curious if anybody has done anything with this yet.
Is our outcomes really tied into your overall academic policy at your institution? Like, are there really clear points where there's an unfilled need to record this stuff?
Yeah, well, we actually even have a product called Campus Labs that is used for accreditation and tracks all that stuff from an administrative side. And the idea is, that at the teaching side is where you gather the information, and you don't want instructors to have to duplicate things, and they're teaching and they're determining competencies there or outcomes there, and then they would have to go into another system and say, well, this is a report of how my students did. So there's the two separate systems, but there's also just the setting it up in Moodle. And again, kind of a similar, professional schools have, they're very competency based, and they usually have everything, the curriculum completely mapped out, all the way down. And there are other accrediting institutions like ABET for engineering and such that have these already determined. Our continuing education department also has worked with outcomes quite a bit from multiple levels. From there's certainly the college level, but there's certainly the university level and accreditation for undergraduate education, but they've also set up things like 21st century skills, which is sort of at a college level, and then they have program level competencies and in some cases even course level competencies. So, I mean, moving academia or moving undergraduate education away from the standard grading system toward a competency-based grading system is a very heavy lift, and I don't know whether it will ever fully be taken, but the functionality is there now, and we're starting to dive into it. I was just curious if anybody else was looking at this or had pondered any of these things. So those are the things that I've been thinking about.
Who here is running Moodle 3.1? Because Moodle 3.1 has the global search and competency frameworks.
They're both optional, but yes.
Yeah, but does everybody have the option to even investigate it right now? Because we're on 3.1. I'm not sure. What is everybody else on?
We're probably going to go to 3.1 in the summer. Maybe 3.2, but probably still 3.1, just because it's a long-term release. We're still on the 3.04.
We're on 3.05 till the end of spring, and then we'll be 3.2 starting summer 1.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I guess Nick, you want to talk about archival strategy?
Yes, I do. So we here at UCLA have had an archive server that we've been running now for quite some time. It's basically Moodle 1.9. And we've gotten several requests from stakeholders that would like an automated solution to be able to import without user data the 1.9 backup into our 3.1 Moodle instance. I appreciate the feedback that we already got via email, but the question becomes, and if Buddy or Robert on the call, is there a way we can automate this process of taking these 1.9 backups and import them and restore them into a 3.1 instance and build something? So anyone have any thoughts? David Elliott, you're with Buddy and Robert's team, right? I didn't hear you. Is it me or? Are you able to give us a demo of Bacadel, or does Bacadel solve what we're trying to accomplish, or is that something completely separate? Or can we take portions of it and rework it to be what we want?
Why am I getting? Let me go back.
I put myself in driving mode. Maybe my phone was causing the feedback. Try again.
Hello. Okay. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yes. Basically, just there's no new functionality in that. I don't think. It's just a simpler way and a less professors can't get it as much by using the Moodle. We just turn that off. They can't see the actual Moodle default backing up and delete functionality.
So does Bacadil not do what I'm talking about, where you take separate instance of Moodle and you do it with a new server via some API or something, and then pull the backed up file and restore it into the new server? Is that not what it does?
What was the question? This time, let's make sure I'm muted.
You want me to repeat the question?
Nick, David said yes.
Oh, so we have a 1.9 Moodle server, and we're trying to take backups of every course on that server and store it locally on the file system. Then via some interface on a new Moodle 3.1 server, we want to be able to retrieve these files that were backed up of the system and restore them into the 3.1. We want a nice interface for that within our 3.1 server. And we want the ability to do the batch backup of every course on the system on the old server. So that's the type of solution that we're looking for. And we're wondering if Bacadil does what we're trying to do, or partially does what we're doing or trying to do.
So I think it would, and it would probably be better than the default, but are you saying you can't do it using just Moodle's defaults? Yeah.
Correct. Moodle's default doesn't allow you to go into an old course that the people don't have access to anymore and back up a site that's not theirs and then restore it into a new site. It's, they would need to contact the system administrator. The system administrator has to go in and do a backup and then email them the restore file, and then they have to do the restore. Or we email this restore file to a local support staff member, and then they do the restore. It's very manual and labor intensive, and we're trying to take out the labor intensive component.
Well, another question is, has anyone experimented with doing like a massive backup? So not just 1 or 2 courses at a time, but like a bunch of courses. So like say we target it to like a term, a semester, and then make a backup of that and store it somewhere locally that can be easily, someone can easily access it and give it to a faculty to restore to their Moodle 3.1 course.
We've done something like that here at UMass, but I will take it offline with my other admins and have them email the thread if they come up with something. I'm not going to waste time.
That'd be great.
I'm not much help from Minnesota because, as you all probably remember, we have annual instances and we have a elaborate migration system, a custom course request with integration with PeopleSoft. And so, our courses all sit in their instances, their live instances for 5 years, and are accessible, each new year to import to import as a blank course. We don't usually do user data through an automated process. We do that more as a manual process on a case-by-case basis. And we do actually, even though we keep 5 or actually 6 years worth of courses, we limit how far back users can actually get at courses, because if you get past 2 years, that's 4 Moodle versions, and so the functionality can be pretty different. So we usually do those on a case-by-case basis, and if it was something like 1.9, we would go maybe 1.9 to 2.2, and then 2.2 to I don't know exactly how we would do it, but we limit how far, but we will go back with this import.
But even still, Mark, you're relying on the core Moodle backup restore feature. You didn't do anything new or implement some kind of tool to help assist with that, right?
No, we're actually doing, I mean, when a user requests a course, there's a backup that's being created temporarily, and then a restore happens in the new instance. I mean, it's not all at once. The backup happens immediately, and then when our support staff approves it, then the restore happens, and then the other file is deleted. So we have migration servers. I think we're leveraging a lot of the core functionality, but it's very custom.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about archival strategy, Nick?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, next I want to demo this new simplified activity chooser that we developed at UCLA. So here, we're going to the activity chooser, and you'll see that this is a shortened list. I actually can't scroll on this list. It's just the top 10 tools that are used most frequently at UCLA. If I want to see all the tools, I'll click on Show All. It's now the complete list that everyone's familiar with. And if there's some tool that I use more frequently, like the wiki, I could just add that, and you go back to my favorite tools, and it'll now show up on my list. And it's persistent for every time you use the activity chooser, and it's on a per user basis as well. Then you just go and just use your activity chooser as normal. Some of the things that I found activity chooser problems with it. With the first, it was the overwhelming number of lists. For example, we added a bunch of plugins, so our list is like over 30 items long now. And also, this list is also separated before by activity versus a resource. We just condensed that list into one listing, so there's no distinction between activity and resource. Like the difference between activity and resource, I think that's legacy. Like an activity is supposed to be something that students can submit to, can interact with. Resources are static content, but we're not sure there's a use for that distinction anymore. But yeah, this is a simplified listing. So we have submitted tracker issue. We submitted a forum post, and code for your checkout. So yeah, just was wondering how can we share this with more people and get some momentum on whether or not this should be included in Moodle Core. Any comments on the functionality?
The people at the consultants here at Appalachian love the idea and would love to get it implemented. So we're voting for the issue on Tracker. So anything we can do to help move that forward, our people are behind.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to bring this back to our folks here. I am curious if you noticed anybody who has used it on the user end, like instructors and people who set up courses, who've had any problems going, where's my thing? And I can't find it anymore. Because we have enough people who think they've deleted their blocks when they've just docked them, that I know that there's we've been burned before by any kind of like user specific hidden stuff, and we actually pulled back on some of the block docking stuff for that reason, just because we got so many people who thought they had deleted something, or one teacher in the same class saw something different than the other teacher in the same class. So I'm gonna make the case for it because I think it's probably a pretty good idea. But I'm wondering if you've heard if there's been any sort of pushback or odd knock-on effects in that realm or in that vein.
So right now, this is under a limited pilot. It is an opt-in feature. We added an option in our preferences menu where somebody could choose to enable a new activity chooser. So right now it's opt-in, but we are going to have our faculty opt out of it starting in summer. So this hasn't gone to a full deployment yet, but it is in production though. So we haven't heard any complaints yet, I believe.
How did you get it in a limited pilot?
So in the user profile, there's option to enable it or not. So
Okay.
If I turn it off, then I load up the activity chooser. It'll tell me that there's this new feature that they can enable.
Okay. So Minnesota is looking at the code right now. From what my developer tells me, that it is pretty intrusive in core code, as I guess it would have to be. And we're looking at those concerns. But I certainly think that it is an improvement. There have been attempts to improve the activity chooser, or at least ideas about improving the activity chooser for at least 4 years. And I think this is a good way to put it in the user's hands. I was thinking about it from an admin's perspective, and I might want to think about it slightly different in the sense that I might want to start simple and then have them go adding things later, so that you start with a basic set and then you click on a button to see more, and then you can choose if you want that advanced item to become, or that that non-basic item to be to show up. So this puts it all, the user is always going to be faced with this long list, and yes, they can customize it, but users don't always customize things. They don't always do those kinds of things. They can, at the course overview, they can rearrange the number of courses, rearrange their courses and change the number, but they never do it. And so I'm concerned that, while this is nice functionality, I don't know whether they'll actually adopt it. And, I think about this more from a standpoint of, what are my 5 basic things that just about everybody uses? Put those out there. Let them choose what's more. And we've had this debate also about a lot of things that are basic and advanced. So on one hand, you don't want to overwhelm them. On the other hand, if you don't let them see it, they'll never know it's there. So it's really a balancing act. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, for our 3.2 instance, which is our last instance that we're hosting locally, I think this would be an improvement. Now, I also have to weigh into the fact that if we stick with Moodle, then we'll be in Moodle rooms, and there's no way that they will implement this as a core hack. So my thoughts.
This is Sherbatskoy from Norwich University, actually John Sherbatskoy from Norwich University. Just curious, does it work with out-of-the-box 3.0, or there's all these different types of Moodle? So we implemented the code that we're sharing is off of the master branch, so like Moodle 3.2. We're not sure if it will easily port over to 3.0, but it does work with 3.1. That depends on whether or not there have been significant code changes to the activity chooser. Okay, thank you. We're actually a hosted site, so we would have to go through our hoster. So we'll have to wait till it's a little more firmed up in the way of software, and we're going to be going to 3.1 soon anyhow. So I think it's always a problem for our instructors, and yeah, they dock stuff and they lose it, and we have to keep telling them, oh, look over for the dock area. And I think it's just a training. After a while you get down to about the 1% of the instructors who always forget, but the rest of the time they can sort of teach themselves. And I love the fact that you can pick and add, because it would add itself to having a base set, and then as you come on with, now we've installed rubrics because we're going to start using rubrics because we haven't done that much here. You could add it to the list and say, hey, try out the new rubrics. And it would be just on the list for them, that kind of thing. So I think it's a great advance. Thank you.
Rex, is the idea so that we get enough traction so you can bring it into for Moodle Core to adopt? So going through like Moodle Association, or right now is it just the testing phase that you're asking everyone to do?
No, so I posted this into the new features forum and like just waiting for response from Moodle. But if enough people vote for it and like comment on it, they'll have to like consider integrating or working more on it.
Am I correct in seeing that where it's saving the starred activities? Is that going into user preferences? The table.
So the code that we're sharing does not have the user preference because that's something that we thought like we thought that when Moodle adopts this, it wouldn't be a user preference, but we could add it into the shared code where it could be opt-in feature.
Well,
Replacement, like a improvement. Oh,
I think they're asking about where it was being stored in the database. Like where those
Rex,
stars are being stored.
Rex, are you thinking that this would be a site level setting to enable?
no, that this will be out of the feature out of the box, how it will look like. So by site wide, you're able to customize what the activity chooser looks like which tools are initially on that list.
Right, but I mean, Moodle doesn't typically force this kind of thing on people without having a setting to sort of opt into it.
Really, a lot of their new UI stuff and changes have been forced on us.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing about the PDF annotator inside of the assignments. That's kind of forced on.
Well, they don't yet have the option to feature flag something. And so the only way to get around that is to have a site-wide setting. And, you know, I mean, personally, I think this, I don't know that I would need it, but, you know, I can see someone wanting a consistent experience and not wanting to change it in the middle of their academic year with an upgrade. So.
Okay, we can put in the user preference back in contributor code.
Has there been much discussion yet? I haven't had a chance to look back.
So a lot of the discussion is really about the removal of the distinction between activities and resources. They want a config setting to keep the activity resources split or keep them separate or mix them together.
I think that's going to be a mixed bag. I mean, some people don't understand why it's there in the first place.
Yeah, so is this better as a MOOC project then? Because the work's done already. It's I thought MOOC was to pay for work being done by Moodle.
Well, right, but it's not. They would have to rewrite it. They wouldn't. I mean, Moodle almost never takes code directly from the community.
No, the initial activity chooser that was written by Nicholas before he joined Moodle.org, right? The quiz is all from a non-Moodle.org directly person, Tim Hunt. There's a lot of code that's been adopted by Moodle. Okay. Well, yeah, just comment on the forum post, vote on the tracker issue, and we'll see where it goes. Oh, Mark, do you have news on the Moodle moots?
Well, I mean, I know roughly that there's going to be one in New Orleans in July, but it sounds like that's a more of a regional than a major one. And that, you know, I asked Martin if he was going to be in New Orleans. He wasn't sure, but he said he would be at Boston. That Boston is the main one. I don't have dates for either of them. This is just what I know. So rumor mill. Who's excited about going to New Orleans in July?
I love sweating.
I actually really am honestly excited about it because I love heat and I've always wanted to go to New Orleans. So let's make that the big one.
Well, I'm afraid. So I guess, is my audio bad? Oh, maybe my phone was too close. Is it better now? Okay. So yeah, now I have an echo.
So I muted it. You want me to mute?
Well, I'm trying to mute mine, but it's not.
I think it's feedbacking through someone else. Yeah, Scott, I think your mic might be too close to your speaker or something.
Well, I'm afraid that if I don't go in, if I don't sign up before the decision is made on which LMS we have, that I won't be able to go.